There's a new citizenship program that promises to pay you back every year in exchange for getting their citizenship by investment, and today I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. So imagine this. You invest in agriculture. It's an interesting asset class. People have been talking about it as something interesting for many years. You get an annual dividend on that investment, and with it, you get citizenship from a citizenship by investment country. That's the pitch from the fourth citizenship by investment program being offered in the Pacific country of Vanuatu. Now, I have said, my team has said on the Nomad Capitalist R&D channel, we're not huge fans of Vanuatu as a citizenship by investment program unless you're talking for certain people, you know, the fourth passport, the fifth passport. If you're really building a portfolio and not relying on it, maybe. If you're just the average person looking for a second and or third passport, Vanuatu's probably not going to make the cut. So let me get that out of the way right up front. But I want you to know about all your options, and obviously that's something we help our clients figure out. We go much deeper into all the different options that are available. Vanuatu, I was last there several years ago, is a bit disorganized. It is a country that you can see by the fact that its passport has lost visa-free travel to Europe in the Schengen area. It has lost visa-free travel to the UK. They do not have the same standards of due diligence that, let's say, a Caribbean citizenship by investment program would have. Caribbean citizenship by investment programs, my advice is almost universally, you go, you make a donation, you get a passport in a matter of months. And that donation starts at $100,000 plus a bunch of fees and goes up from there depending on the program, depending on how many people in your family. That's probably, for most people, the better option. But what you're seeing is Turkey now, hey, buy real estate, put your money in the bank, get out of it in 3 years, keep the passport. All right, you see deals now in Egypt. Jordan has long had a very overpriced option. It's not attractive to most folks. There are other options that are trying to get into, hey, how can we actually make this profitable for you? And so I, in most cases, am not going to look at any deal in, let's say, the Caribbean where you buy property and we rent it out and we send you a check, because the market is so illiquid. The government can lower the price of the real estate option anytime they want. I don't think you're going to see much more price lowering out there. And quite frankly, when I see the commissions that some of these people want to pay, there's plenty of people who don't like me. They attack me on social media. Oh, he doesn't understand, you know, there's plenty of good options out there. Maybe if you're buying a multi-million-dollar villa that just has a citizenship slapped onto it in some of the Caribbean countries, that's worthwhile. But there's been outright scams. There's stuff that doesn't get built. They've tried to have some of these, you know, fishery things. It just hasn't ever worked. So I'm not a big fan of these. I generally just say make the donation and be done with it. And if you're a real estate peddler and you want to, you know, tell me why I'm wrong, just send it to help@nomadcapitalist.com. Tell us how you'll pay us a 27% commission to sell your timeshare in the Caribbean. We'd love to have you prove my point. I don't think anything that pays that big of a commission is a good deal. But Vanuatu is saying, to the point, their new CBI program has a coconut oil fund that will give you an annual return. Now, when I said Vanuatu is a little disorganized, here's what I mean by that. They have 4 different citizenship programs. They come and go. It's hard to keep track of them. What are they named? This one went away. I think this one's like the return of something that was here 8 years ago. Different people, like each are like the master agent for different programs. It's really hard to keep up with. And again, if you go to Vanuatu, you'll kind of see like, yeah, this is kind of exactly like you just see how things run. Seems like they would do something like this. And it's made the passport less attractive because it's just so disorganized that, you know, you can go places with the passport. To me, the best value of a Vanuatu passport is you have a lifetime access to live in a country that basically has like no taxes. I mean, you probably won't find many other countries that have 000 across the board in so many places as Vanuatu. You could travel around Asia, for example, or you could get visas to go to other countries. If all you wanted to do was live in a few countries in Asia and then have Vanuatu as a place to live as a backup for your tax-free, that could work. If I'm looking to travel all over the world, this is not going to be my passport. Here's the new deal. 4th Citizenship by Investment Program in Vanuatu. This came out just in the last month or so. They announced a revised version of the Capital Investment Immigration Plan, the CIIP, that joins the VDSP, the VCP, and the REO, and the TTP, RESP, as well as the TV, the ASAP, and the RSVP. Applicants and families of up to 4 members may qualify through an all-inclusive contribution of $138,000. So, When you go to the Caribbean program, which is the most known citizenship by investment programs, you make a donation, let's call it $100,000. On top of that, you're going to pay various government fees. There may be bank fees. There may be due diligence. Well, there will be due diligence. There may be additional like World Check. There's a lawyer involved. I mean, there's a lot of different fees on top of that. And on top of that, you have to collect all your documents, which is why almost no one that you go out and get a quote from really tells you the whole figure, because you might be on the hook for $15,000 of collecting documents for your family and getting them apostilled, and depending on how many places you've lived, it can get a little expensive. What Vanuatu has done is you're still collecting your documents, but they kind of wrap up all the different commissions and fees and agents and all that into one big chunk, and then part of it gets sent off to the government and part of it gets just kind of sent around. Whereas in the Caribbean, almost all that money that you donate goes to the government, and the rest may go to some local people. So Vanuatu is a little bit different, where more of the fees are baked in the front end. You contribute $138,000. Applicants and families of up to 4 members, so like a husband, a wife, 2 kids, they can get Vanuatu citizenship for $138,000. And so this program was suspended in 2016. They brought it back. Here's what they're offering: an annual return on investment and redemption value in 5 years with an asterisk. So what they're saying is they're going to take a part of your $138,000. Let's call it probably like $70,000 or $75,000, because the rest is going to go to the fees. Some of it goes to the government, the agents. There's people, taking commissions. They have basically one firm running this. That's how Vanuatu does it. They don't have one program and different people can participate. They have just like different programs. Okay, like, Johnny's running this program, and Johnny, has to get money to promote it. So they're probably going to put like $70,000 of your money into this agricultural investment, which has a conservative return target of 5%. So 5% of 70 grand every year, you get $3,500. Multiply that times 5. You're getting a little bit of cash flow back. I would say if you can get half your money back of that 138, I'd call that a good deal. And so what they're talking about is value adding in the coconut industry to create coconut oil, which will then be used to replace 100% of the diesel fuel used for electricity production in Vanuatu. So a little bit of a green option. Vanuatu has net zero targets by 2030, and so this is something that the government wants to achieve, hence why I presume they said, hey, let's use this coconut oil thing, where again, part of your money from that 138 goes into the coconut oil investment. If you like the idea of getting cash back from your citizenship investment, I don't think $3,500 a year for anyone doing this is really going to move the needle very much. But you're going to get something back, and then you hope 5 years from now, they sell the coconuts, or the coconuts are all turned into fuel, or whatever happens to the coconuts, and then they send the principal back. I would say the goal is if you get about half your money back, count on the other half is going to fees, which isn't a terrible deal for what you generally pay in fees for a family of 4. Vanuatu has other programs. They've got a bond program that's denominated in Australian dollars. You can choose different maturities, basically 2 or 3 years. There is no interest in those bonds, but ostensibly you get your money back in Australian dollars. If you're not based in Aussie dollars, you take the currency risk. Otherwise, you're just taking the risk of the government returning your cash in the next several years. So obviously, you have to consider, am I going to get my cash back from a bond option backed by the government, from coconuts backed by people who are running the coconuts? Same as I would ask about, St. Lucia's bond option that people looked at in the past. St. Lucia going to pay its bondholders back. Same thing I would look at with any real estate deal, even in St. Kitts, where you can buy resale properties. What's the liquidity? What's the resale market? Can I sell this property? My overall thought still is, I'd rather just get the donation over with. I'd rather just know here's what I'm losing. But if I'm looking to add a 4th or a 5th or a 6th passport to my passport portfolio, at which point I think you start to think not so much about travel, not so much about optionality, but just about, can I add 1 or 2 countries I can live in? In this case, can I have a country that's very laid back, that doesn't tax practically anything, that I can always go and live in no matter what happens in the world? You might have to get there by private jet, depending on where you live in the world, but you can go and you can be led into Vanuatu. Is it worth then to gamble rather than making a donation, which is basically a very similar amount of money? Hey, have some fun, have the coconuts, hope you get a check for a couple grand a year, hope you get some capital returned in 5 years, or do the bond option. I really think this is something that, unless you've really got a problem, you can't qualify for any other citizenship, or unless you're really a collector, this is probably one I would pass on. But what I like is that we're seeing more innovation in the citizenship by investment industry, that it's not just kind of this pure play donation model, which I think really dominates in the Caribbean. Obviously, Malta has kind of their own version, the MEIN, which is a little bit longer timeline, citizenship program, which is a donation plus other things. But I like that we're seeing more countries offering real estate. Vanuatu talked about doing real estate, haven't seen that materialize yet. So these are just more options that are available to you. Maybe if nothing else, it stirs innovation in other markets to keep up, gets people to start thinking creatively. Probably not something for the average person watching, but there are more and more options coming about. What we do at Nomad Capitalist is help you understand all the different options. I was talking to a guy the other day, went through about 20 different citizenship options that he could possibly consider. Just went through a ton of stuff. And we knocked at about 10 of them almost immediately. But then it's like, okay, well, if you put $1 million over there, what could happen with that? Is that citizenship worth having? There's a lot of options out there. So before you jump into any one thing, talk to someone who knows all the options. Talk to someone who's helped people get almost 36 different citizenships in like 5 or 6 different ways that you can qualify through marriage, through birth, through investment, through naturalization. We've helped people do that for years. I personally have my own portfolio of passports that's helped me feel extremely secure. And there are also criteria depending on what you want to do with the passport, depending on what you want to do with your banking, depending on what you want to do with your asset protection. All the stuff works holistically. So someone who just talks about passports isn't really going to understand, well, what happens when you go to the Swiss bank? What are they going to think of this passport? And how does that affect your asset protection plans? Like, everything works holistically, and that's what we help people figure out. So the clients that we talk to believe it's worth paying a fee to hear all their options. And once we kind of perfect the plan of what the options are and how they should work together, it's worth paying one person to go out and make it all happen. If you want to learn more about that, you go to nomadcapitalist.com. Lots of options out there. It's a matter of picking the best ones for you.